Well, it's probably about time to kind of get set up and get rolling here. And I wanted to go ahead and just kind of let you guys know. So today we're going to be talking about ninja selling. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of ninja selling. I wanted to kind of explain the premise behind ninja selling, what it is, what it works. There is a book that I do encourage you to read, but today I just want to kind of go over the basic premises that have to do with the ninja selling system and the benefits and those kind of things about it. Next week, we're going to cover the GAR mid-year contract changes. Really aren't a ton of them, but I figured it'd be a good chance for us to go over the GAR contract changes next week. The week after, we're going to have Mark Brown. We have the Geranium Festival coming up, and he's going to be going over sharing the results from actually doing event marketing. So we're going to be doing an event marketing and then turning around, showing everybody what we did, talk about the how it worked as well as the pros, the cons, the benefits, and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing on the masterminds for the next 3 or 4 weeks, as far as all that is going forward. Um, Today I'm going to be going over ninja selling, and so ninja selling is really it is a book series, but it's also a bit of a mindset. I do encourage you if you're interested and if you get any value out of our conversation today, to really consider like getting the book, audiobook, or even the print version, and kind of looking at it and kind of going through it. The ninja selling system is really it's based on four, I guess, founding principles would be the right way to put it. One is personal mastery, that you have to be competent at your job. And so some of this, the book just kind of takes the premise of like you have to be able to do a comparative market analysis. You have to be able to do, the basics of our industry. And so this is not a system or a book based around those, the core things that it just takes for granted that you should be able to do. Principle two is that we should be able to stop selling and start solving. Principle three is that there's actually a ninja business strategy that I'll go over with you. And then the last one is just about connecting and communicating in here. And so the very first principle that I want to kind of go over with you is that it comes down to personal mastery. And in that personal mastery, the first step is definitely going to be mindset. And, like, are you a victim? If you, like everybody has things that happen in their life, and if you let that define who you are, if you let that become the reason that you can or can't accomplish somebody, then that's going to be the thing that really does kind of affect you, right? You have to, like if you have a victim's mindset, then you're never going to be able to get past that. If you are feeling, like if you let yourself get to a place where you're down, feeling negative, when you start feeding yourself all that negative energy, and then you start, that little voice pops up in the in your ear and starts talking about all the things that um that's really going to like drive you down when your mindset, and if you start letting negative feelings really work into you, um then that's going to be one of those things that really does start to like if you can't get past there, you're going to have a very difficult process in getting started. And so it really does start, there is a ninja morning routine. And that really starts, the very first thing is going to be starting with gratitude. And when you start with gratitude, the basic premise is it's really hard to be a victim when you start off being thankful for how much that you actually really do have, how blessed that we are to be in this country, how blessed we are to have all the many things that we do. And so when you start your day with gratitude, with all the things that you're thankful for, it's really hard to kind of be a victim at that point. So I do really like the idea of starting your morning with, first thing is with gratitude. Second is with some sort of positive reading. For some folks, it's going to be reading their Bible. For other folks, it's just going to be finding different things that you can do because you're kind of motivating, you're building yourself up. And then like having positive affirmations and visualizations. I stopped listening to the news first thing in the morning because I found that I just kind of get I was pouring negative things into my mind. And so I'm not saying I don't watch the news or stay up on the current events, but like if I start my day with what can be a negative thing, that can affect you all the way through. And the last part of the Ninja morning routine is you start off and you write two personal notes. And that's one thing that you'll see throughout the entire Ninja selling system is that writing notes is a big deal. And this is another thing that when you start sending out notes and thank you notes and personal notes, that kind of stuff, it really is like you are starting off with the right mindset to be successful going through the course of your day and that kind of stuff. One of the other big premises in the book and in the mindset here is that what you focus on expands. Like the things that you are focused on, the things that you're paying attention to, those are going to increase. And we see so many examples of this in our life. Uh, you know, my son, we just had prom, and so we're out when we're looking for tuxedos and then looking at prom dresses. I wouldn't normally notice a prom dress if it slapped me in the face, but because right now we've been thinking about prom, that was one of those things that we always would see. I drove for years, I drove a Hummer, and whenever I pass another Hummer, I would automatically spot that because it was something that I'm focused on. I'm paying attention to. Unfortunately, sometimes we focus on negative things, especially in the real estate space. And so I know so many agents that will be like, "Oh, I don't have enough transactions. I'm worried about transactions. I don't have enough leads." And should your focus really be on, I don't have transactions, or should your focus really be on buyers and sellers, right? Because if we're focusing on negatives, then we're going to produce negative results. If we're focused on positives, then we're going to end up getting positive results. And we can intentionally direct our gaze at the things that we want to focus on. Because when you start focusing on buyers and sellers, you start getting more buyers and sellers. When you focus on, I don't have enough transactions, then you get more not having enough transactions. And so it does kind of start becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so, we do want to make sure that we are focusing on our buyers, on our sellers, on the needs of our buyers and sellers, as opposed to focusing on things that are going to pull our gaze away. Because what we want to do is focus on the folks that are going to help us generate our business and those kind of things. It's going to come down to that 80/20 focus, which we'll talk more about in just a minute. And then the last big piece on personal mastery is going to be on your own personal skills. And this is something that the book takes pretty much for granted, but I don't think that we should. I think we need to make sure that we are very, very competent in the way that we represent our clients, all the things that we do, knowing our industry, knowing our business. I know that Neil can speak to this as well. We have a ton of continuing education classes, and we are teaching classes every single week. And some weeks, I mean, some classes are jam up, and some classes not so much. We see time and again where we have agents come in and they'll be like, "I need 30 hours in the next month," as opposed to and instead of them working on their business throughout the entire course of the year, or 4 years rather, they'll wait until they get, now they've got to get 30 hours of continuing education of instruction and things that they could have been doing to improve their business, to improve their capabilities, their skill sets. Like, be very intentional about what you're learning and how competent that you are at your job. I think that one is really, like I said, the book kind of takes it for granted, but this is one of those things. I mean, here in Georgia at least, we need 36 hours. If you just do one continuing education class that is about something that you want to learn a quarter, you're going to have no problem meeting your CE requirements, and you're hopefully going to be growing your business through it. If you look at a lot of the classes that we teach and that are available out there, a lot of these are very good for your business. So, and most of them are fundamental out there on when it comes to the CE classes. Those are just core classes of whether it's working FMLS, Georgia MLS, transaction desk, whatever, those kind of things. You can become much more competent at the nuts and bolts of our business. So please do take the time for that. So that's principle one. Principle one was personal mastery. Principle two is the premise behind principle two is stop selling, start solving. And I really do like this entire thought process because for a lot of people in real estate, they think it's about selling, and it really isn't about, at least for me, it's never been about selling nearly as much as it is when I solve your problems, you use me kind of thing. And the thought process here is when you sell, people move away from you. Like, you see all kinds of, like if I see somebody, standing in they're trying to sell something, we all walk away from those people. We kind of move away from that guy that's sitting there trying to pitch or sell something right in the middle. However, if you start solving somebody's problems, guess what they do? They start heading towards you. So, the idea here is, are you trying to make people move away from you because you're always selling, selling, selling? Or are you trying to solve to where people move towards you? And I really do like that entire mindset. And even the thought process behind it is really, really valid, right? Nobody likes that hard, pushy salesman. No one likes being necessarily feeling like they're being sold to kind of thing. However, when you can really solve people's problems, they really do move towards you. So the one of the basic ideas here is that for every interaction that you have with, regardless of whoever you meet, that you bring value. You bring value in every single interaction. You stop selling and you start bringing value. Now, people value, what people value. People are going to value one of two things. One, anything that solves their problems, and two, anything that makes them feel good, right? So if I can solve your problems or make you feel good, you're going to be attracted. You're going to start moving towards me as opposed to moving away.
Hey,
Now,
Alan,
say again?
I was just going to piggyback on that because if I don't, I'll forget my thought.
Oh,
But
please.
so, how do you know what I value? And how do you know what my problem is? Let's say it's you and I talking. How do you know what my problem is? How do you know what I value?
By having a relationship,
But you got to
by
ask
engaging
questions,
with you.
right? You got to ask me questions.
Yep.
And rather than, I don't really care about all, you could sit here and tell me about this thing you are really great at, but if I don't value that and it doesn't make my life better, you're wasting your breath. But if you ask me questions and you learn enough about me to know what direction to take that conversation, you're way more likely going to land that sale. But, and I say this because this is something I'm working on with myself
Mm-hmm.
because I'm bad, like as a broker. I'm always like, how do people not see what they get with our company versus the company they're with?
Mm-hmm.
But I've been doing this for 8 years, and all I ever push is what we offer, what we offer, what we offer. Whereas I need to be asking, hey, first ask agents, well, what do you struggle with? And find out what they're looking for. I know we've got something that addresses it, but I don't need to tell them everything we've got, everything we do. They just need to know the things that help them solve their problem. So I guess I'm saying focus on asking more questions.
Well, and you actually are like one step ahead of me right now, because that really is one of the biggest premises in the entire book, is that when you ask questions, then you're giving time of possession to the other party. And so if I go on a buyer's presentation and I'm the one doing all the talking, they're going to zone out. They're going to be, but when I start asking questions and then listening to what they say and then and working forward, that's a different, I mean, that's one of the biggest differences between selling versus solving, is asking questions. You are so 1,000% right. I don't know if you read the book or not, but you were like right on it 100%. Um, because it does come down to that value idea. But see, only 15% of people on average want the lowest price. Strangely enough, 5% want the highest price because they feel like it's a the best is always the most expensive. But average, overall, 80% of Americans want the best value. And so, we do get that by providing more value. But if you want to provide value, then ask the right questions. Now, when you in order to stop selling, ask questions, because when you ask questions, no one comes across as being super pushy when you're asking questions on there. So what questions do you ask? Well, in the book, the main premise for asking questions in the book is going to be the Ford question series, FORD, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So like when you talk to somebody, the reason you wanted to talk about family because everybody likes to talk about their family. Everyone loves their family. I mean, before the meeting, folks were asking me about my daughter, and it made my heart feel good, and those kind of things. Occupation, we spend a lot of time in our occupation, so it's a great question to ask about. Recreation, what are they doing? Building deeper relationships. And then dreams. When someone's willing to talk to you about their dreams, real estate really does come along for the ride. And so when it comes to like asking family questions, hey, where are you originally from? How's the family? I love just how's the family. That one's really good. Hey, how is your daughter doing? What's your daughter going to be doing after she graduates? Where's she going on here? Where'd you go? Who all did you go to the lake with this weekend? Those are really solid questions on there. Occupation, you know, the number one occupation question is how's business? I know it's a very generic question, but it really does kind of start the conversation, What business are you in? How's everything at work? What do you do during the day? Those are really good occupation questions. When it comes to recreation, what did you do this weekend? What do you do for fun? You have any trips planned? Anything coming up for the weekends? Dreams? Dreams are like what are your plans for the holidays? Do you have any trips planned this summer? What are you doing once your son graduates? Those are all kind of dream questions. But when you ask these four dialogue questions, these four questions, right? The first thing is the second question is embedded in the first question's answer. So it's not about going down a checklist, right? It's not about saying, okay, now I ask this, then I ask this, then I ask this. So if I say, how's business, and they start talking about their business, my next question is going to be based upon the answer that they gave me. And again, that third question is going to be based upon that answer again. It's not like I'm going down filling out a form here because, God gave us two ears, one mouth. We should try and use it that way. When you give time of possession to the other party, when like they feel like they own the conversation, they feel like they're in charge, that they're in control, and it really does build rapport really, really great. The other thing that you want to do when you're asking these forward questions is you want to be like paying attention and listening to the cues about, who's having life changes, who's likely to buy and sell. These are great times and questions to be focused on because you're trying to build deeper and better relationships. Now, in the book, it kind of jumps over and it says, make sure that you do have your value proposition. And we do all need to have, and I think we've actually done a mastermind series on creating your value proposition. Now, in the Ninja system for value proposition, the thing, their basic premise is, look, we all have the same core services. We all help people buy and sell real estate. But then it comes down to the other three questions you want to ask yourself is, what do you have that's different? What do you do that's custom? And then what do you do to improve the convenience for your clients and your customers? So being able to have something that to when you are having these interactions, when you are doing your forward questions, you want to be able to talk about, because when you're doing your forward dialogue, it doesn't become only you asking questions. When the more questions you ask, the more questions you're going to get asked of you as well. And so that's when you want to be able to talk about your business, what you do different, what your value proposition is, all those kind of things. But remember, it's not about selling, it's more about relationships, because the entire Ninja system is built on on basically on building service, and on solving people's problems. So the third Ninja strategy on here is the actual Ninja business strategy. And the Ninja business strategy, like one thing that you won't read when you kind of go through and read the Ninja book, like it's not about leads. They don't teach leads, they don't promote leads. And I know that Neil can back me up on this. A lot of times when we talk to agents, it's always like, I need more leads, I need more leads. Where can I get leads? What about leads? A lot of times when people will leave us and then come back, it's because they're looking for leads and that kind of stuff. Well, the Ninja premise on this is that they went out and done the math, and basically um, the national transaction rate is around 15%. And basically that means for every 100 people in your sphere of influence, 15 transactions will come from it. And that really does come down to because we have overall around a 7% transaction rate, but then you get a buy and a sell from every single one. So when you have that the average agent has a sphere of influence of at least 200 people, and so if you have at least 200 people in your database, that should generate 30 transactions. If the entire Ninja premise is based on engaging with your sphere of influence, engaging with the people that you know. Most of your other conversion rates are in the 3% range as opposed to 15% inside your database. And so it does come down to building relationships, because the whole idea is that, most agents have this database, but they're not known, they're not liked, and they're not trusted. And so with the Ninja system, the whole idea is you become known, liked, and trusted. And in order to do that, they use what is called flow, FLOW. And they define that as frequency of action. And so this is where you engage with the folks inside your database. And so their first premise is that, every interaction must bring value. No junk mail, no spam, nothing like that. It's about quality over quantity, right? And so if you send an email, it has to be a valuable email with relevant information that would bring value to your client. If you call, there has to be a reason for your calling, and you have to bring value for that. So so with the Ninja system, first thing they have is what's called auto flow. And that means that every person inside your database gets 3 auto flow touches a month. And for most, that's going to be either email or direct mail or email. So it could be a newsletter, a market update, postcards, birthday cards, thank you cards, but every single person inside your database gets 3 interactions per month from you. In addition to the 3 that automatically goes out to everyone inside your sphere, they have what they call live flow. And that means that throughout the course of your week, you want to have 50 live interactions, preferably inside your database, inside your sphere of influence. And so it could be calling, engaging, meeting with different folks, that kind of stuff. It can also be where you're calling and also sending out coupons, birthday cards, invitations to different events, giveaways, tickets, handwritten notes, personal notes, those kind of things. But in the Ninja system, your basic premise is I'm going to set these things up on automatic, and then every week I've got to have 5 live interactions with people. And how it defines live interactions is like a human interaction, not an email, not that kind of stuff. There has to be you can do it in person, you can do it over phone, you can do it even over text, that kind of stuff. Now, according to the Ninja system, on average, this will cost you $2 per person per month, is kind of what the average cost to run this system. But if you are on a budget, then you focus on face-to-face or phone calls, texts, email, social media, that kind of stuff. The other thing that they really push heavily is utilizing a proper 8x8. And what an 8x8 is when you first meet somebody. So when you get a new person to add to your database, a lot of agents will just like dump them into the database, and then they just kind of go into a regular some sort of regular posting schedule. But with an 8x8, when you first introduce somebody into your database, you know, they get one separate thing every single week for 8 weeks in order to really strengthen and build that relationship. And me personally, we've used that very successfully in the past. When you really focus on when you first meet someone, if you send them something valuable, useful every week for 8 weeks, you really can build a relationship with somebody pretty quickly. I mean, it's still taking 2 months to do it, but at that point, they are solidly inside your database and engaging with you on a much more personal basis now at that point. Now, the other thing is when they start looking at how do you do business kind of thing. The first thing is before you start actually doing business is that you come prepared. You come prepared to make money. And so, you need to show up at whatever workplace, dressed and prepared to make money. Um, you know, for me, I'm a person I'm an office person. I need to come in the office because I can get distracted very, very easily. Other folks that, a lot of us in the real estate space that, we will work from home. But when you work from home, are you dressed, set up, and ready to handle business? The ninja premise here is that when you're dressed, set up, and ready to go, that you treat your business much more like a business, that you are prepared to make money. And it really does. I mean, like it's a true premise. Like when you're in pajamas, it's real hard to be like, yeah, let's meet, right? I mean, if you're still in your jammies, it's really hard to kind of move forward from there. But if you're dressed and set up and ready to go, and an opportunity presents itself, you're ready to pounce. So, next thing here is that they believe that you should work on your business in the morning and in your business in the afternoon. And so, they have what's called their Ninja Five. And so the Ninja Five is the first one is start with gratitude. We talked about that already. The second one is show up on time, dressed, ready to go, but don't open email first. And this is really true. If you open email first thing, you put your firefighter hat on and you don't do what's really important, which are your relationships and making your phone calls and engaging with folks. So the third item on the Ninja Five is you should write 2 personal notes every day. The fourth item is that you should focus on your warm list, and your fifth item is that you should focus on your hot list and on your warm list. Now, a lot of folks don't know what a warm and a hot list is, and this is kind of an old school premise here, but the idea here is that you take your entire database, print your database. I know that sounds kind of bizarre, especially for a lot of high tech folks and folks that have just really huge databases. But most agents don't have this massive database. It may be between 200 and 400 people on there. And so here's what their advice is. You print your database off. And then when you do that, you go down every single person on the list and you think about that person. But when I say think about it, you want to think about who has had an increase in family size this year, who has children age 10 and under, who has teenage children, who has children that are about to graduate, who on your list is living below their means. And we all have that one friend that lives in a shack but makes really good money, that kind of stuff. Who's lived in their same home for at least 8 years? Who's had their company expand in the last year? Who's had their company shrink in the last year, right? Who owns land? Who owns a building lot? Who's getting married? Who's getting divorced? Who's getting married then divorced, or divorced then married rather? Um, who has that dream to, I just want to live in the mountains, that kind of stuff? Who has a really long commute? See, the whole idea here is that these are all life events that cause people to sell. So when you take your database and you go down and you make these check marks, check, 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 every time you come across, and this is someone that, they have, they've got teenage kids that are about to graduate. They lived in their home about 8 or 9 years, da, 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 da. This is how you make your hot and your warm list. Now, a hot list is anyone who's going to transact business with you in the next 90 days. And so we definitely want to make sure that we're focused on anyone that's going to transact business in the next 90 days. Now, anybody on the warm list, those are someone that's going to transact real estate probably in the next year. But these are people from inside your database. See, a lot of folks will say, well, my database is not like that. My database doesn't turn over the same way. Yes, it does. It's just that we're not really focused on our database very well. We're not thinking about our database. We haven't gone in and analyzed our database about who's most likely, uh, you know, to buy and sell inside our database, because we're not looking at it that way. And it goes all the way back to that focus that we have in the very beginning. Like if you're focusing on your buyers and your sellers, can you really start to identify and find when folks are going to be having these life events that really do change? I mean, that really do, help people make that decision that now's the right time to buy or sell. So when every day you're coming in and you're starting your gratitude, you're not opening your email first, you're writing two personal notes, and then you start going down and you start engaging with the people on your hot list. And then when you're done with that, you engage with the people that are on your warm list. Like that's a great morning routine, because so many folks still don't know what going to work looks like. That's what the Ninja morning routine is. Now, in addition to those five, Ninja also teaches the next four habits, and the next and so habit 6 here is that you should do customer service calls. So now that you have called on your hot folks, you called on your warm folks, now you're calling past clients, current clients, anybody that's under contract, any of your active buyers, all your referral sources, anyone with a home purchase anniversary. Like you're focusing on customer service now. In addition to that, item 7 is that you should schedule 2 live real estate reviews every single week. And that's through all your other phone calls and interactions with the folks inside your database. You want to set up 2 real estate reviews. And all a real estate review is where you go meet with a property owner, someone that owns real estate, and you want to do an equity assessment for them, but not for the purpose of selling, for the purpose of educating them, informing them, letting them know what's going on in the market, letting them know how much a buyer would be prepared to pay for their home right now, and just so that they know what's going on. Because when you do that, that becomes an instant referral source. They're telling other people that you're doing this for them, and then folks really appreciate that. So item 7, again, you want to schedule 2 live real estate reviews every week. Item 8 is that every single week you should have 50 live interactions every single week. And so that could be, you go to your kid's soccer game and you got 7 live interactions, and you go to this event and you're doing these. But every week you want to have 50 live interactions. There's a lot of folks that want to sell just online, that want to just be able to handle these kind of things. The Ninja system is like, look, you get yourself out there and you start engaging and talking to people. And so item 8 is scheduling, having 50 live interactions every single week. And then item 9 that you should be doing is that you should update your database every week. They don't really push that you should be in it every single day, but every single week you should update your database every week, with anyone that you're bringing into your database, all your updates, all those kind of things going on. Now, principle 4 that Ninja teaches is going to be on connect and communicate. And so uh, that entire segment really deals heavily with the DISC profile, right? And so D's, they classify as power people. They make up 15 to 20% of the US population. I's, these are our party people. They make up about 25 to 30% of our population. S's, these are our peace people. They make about 35 to 40% of our population. And our C's, our high C's, these are our perfection folks, and they make up about 15 to 20% of our population. We have DISC classes that we teach. It's also part of our business planning when, if you want to take those kind of classes. But the idea is understanding how people buy and understanding what is the premise behind, if I like, how does a power person, a D personality, make buying decisions, and then understanding that, because when when we understand how people buy, it makes it much easier for us to position ourselves in the right place. So, um, the other one of the other big principles it teaches is that you want to make sure that you are giving people permission to buy. A lot of times, it definitely, promotes the fact that we lead with the appointment. But in there, they even talk about things like when you find a home, you know, is any home perfect? Probably not. Even if you built your home right now, and I've built a home in the past, like things change, and even then, that house was not absolutely perfect. When we tried hard to build the perfect home, but I can look back and say, I wish we'd put the door on this side instead of on here, and I wish we didn't have a lip on this, in our shower. I want it to be a stepless shower now in retrospect, and I wish we would have done da 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 da. But when folks start looking at homes and they think that they're looking for the perfect home, well, like no home is going to be perfect. Don't take that off your list if it's not an absolute 100% perfect, because a lot of times by the time you go back to that home that you skipped over first, um, suddenly you find out that maybe that was the best home that matched up with all of your needs. The other thing is, like when you are meeting a client, and when you sit down and you go through an entire buyer presentation with them, and you bring your value and you explain what the whole buying process is, and you go through that, like when we go out and look at homes, half of my clients find their home on our first trip out. I'm actually 60% of clients find their home on the first trip out. Half of the folks find their home on the second trip out. And when you say that up front, you're not being pushy. You're just saying, look, it's okay. I give you permission. Like the very first house we look at may be the perfect home for you. Don't miss out on what could be a great property for you just because, well, you feel like you've got to look at more, right? So the whole idea here is that, ask questions, connect with folks, but ask questions, don't sell. The more questions you ask, the better off that you're going to be. When you start engaging with someone, the questions you want to ask are very simple questions. Like you wouldn't want to sit down and just be like, how much money do you have? Like that's not a great question to lead in. So you want to start by leading in with your Ford questions and building rapport. Easy questions for them to answer, like where are you living now? Do you own or are you renting? What do you really like about where you live right now? What do you dislike about where you live right now? All these are great questions you want to ask before you actually get into, well, how much money, I mean, like, have you met with a lender yet? How much are you prepared? Like what's our price range that we're looking at? How did you come by that? Now you're able to move into those type of more diagnostic questions that require a little bit more, but you've already built rapport with them. Once you go all the way through that, at some point you're going to have to make your proposal for, like let's move forward, whether it's a listing or a buying opportunity to be able to do that. But at that point is when you're really hopefully at that point you've kind of built your rapport to that level. Now, overall, this is the Ninja selling system kind of in a nutshell. I wanted to kind of present it to everyone kind of in advance. And then I did want to kind of open it up and start having a little bit of open dialogue about this. Because one of the things I like most about the Ninja selling system is that even though it says selling in the name, it's really very little selling. It's much more about relationships. It's about asking questions. It's about providing value for our clients. And that's really different than I think what you like when you follow, the real estate talking heads and the gurus, right? It's all about, leads and conversions and that kind of stuff. And this entire system is built around relationships and conversations and providing value. So I really do like this system that way, largely because I find that for most real estate folks, that's how they operate. Most folks are not just lead gen machines that have this, that are buying, $2,000 a month in leads and doing hardcore conversions and that kind of stuff. I feel that most of us are pretty big relationship people. Now, has anybody else read the book besides me and like its premises and those kind of things? Or am I your first experience with it?
This is the first I've heard of it, Alan.
Okay.
I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
Yeah.
Hey, Alan, I read the
100%.
book. I read the book, and then I even bought a hard copy of it to highlight some of the things because it is great reminders. It is definitely in line with the kind of person I am. So I really, really love the book. So it was just a reminder to go because I didn't finish the hard copy, like highlighting things that I thought were just like really important. So thanks for the reminder. I'm gonna put that on my to-do list.
Pull it back out.
Yes.
All right. Did I say anything that like sparked interest? I mean, or do you guys think that, anybody still feeling like, Alan, it's more about leads than it is about relationships?
Good morning.
Hey, Alicia.
Hey, I haven't read the book, but meanwhile, I just dumped it in my cart on Amazon while the video was going.
Okay.
But I think a lot of this book goes into what you already said, like previously, what Win Before Noon. It kind of like ties together, so
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of the same things with this book. But I'm definitely going to read the book. So thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, like when I did read the book, I looked back at how we operated business when we were really actively buying and selling at the same time, and there was a lot of very similar things. So, I'm a big fan personally on there. Does anyone have any other questions, thoughts, concerns? I'm wide open right now. I wanted to kind of open it up to a little bit of dialogue here.
Yes, I have a question. The name of the book, I came in a little late.
Oh, Ninja Selling.
Ninja Selling. Okay, thank you.
Even though it's not nearly as much about selling, which I find to be interesting. All right, and let's see. Oh, there's also a Ninja Selling Planner and a website, and so there is a lot of other resources out there for it. Me personally, I have the audiobook, and then I actually have the print version as well. It's been around for 10 or 12 years, so it's been around a good while. Again, it's just for me, it's a big deal about it's not about leads. It's about relationships. And for so many of us, we think it's about leads. And I'm not saying leads aren't a piece. There is a definitely chance, but leads are an opportunity for us to have a relationship, not necessarily to convert as much as folks would necessarily think. So, other questions, thoughts? Latavia? Amy, you have anything to add? Dwayne?
Oh, hey, Alan. Actually, excuse me. Good morning. I actually do have something to add.
Yeah.
I think that leads are trash. That's just my thing. I've never been a leads person. I always, especially if I'm working with mentees, I always tell them that you want buyers and sellers. You don't want leads. And yes, I know leads turn into buyers or sellers, but I think if we look at them that way, then we realize that, really buyers are not looking for agents, they're looking for houses. Sellers are not looking for agents, they're looking for buyers. And if we can be the person that helps to connect those two, then we really get out of the rat race of chasing people, and people come to us because we have what they want. So that's a natural draw. Um, and I have never read the Ninja Selling book, but I'm going to. I haven't even gotten on my Audible subscription, but I'm going to throw it in there. However, I wanted to throw a book out since we are talking about books. Maybe we'll turn into a big book club. Who knows? But this is the book that I have read, and it really changed my business. And the name of it is called Pink Goldfish. I know it's a crazy term. It is about selling, but it's really kind of taking like defying the normal and standing out. That's really what the book is about. I'm all about pink, so of course that just really got to
Yeah,
me.
it spoke to you anyway, right?
Right, but it talks about companies like T-Mobile and all these companies that have used colors or their quirks or whatever to really stand out. And like their one thing is, being normal makes you ordinary. It also makes you ignored, but being different or quote unquote weird, as this book likes to call things, makes you original. It makes you stand out, and it makes you hard to imitate. And anyway, I just think there's a lot of really good things about making yourself stand out when we have got a sea of other agents that we are competing with. I look at myself as I'm in like a pond of a lot of other goldfish, and I want to be that pink goldfish. So, anyway, I just thought I would share that in case anybody was interested.
That's
Well, I'm
good.
very interested. The other thing here is that, when you are reading the Pink Goldfish or reading new other books or staying, like this is how, we stay current, relevant, always learning. There's a lot of value that comes out of that. The average CEO of a Fortune 500 company reads 60 books a year, which I don't know how they have time to do it, but that's what the average CEO reads. And all you guys are CEOs of your companies. So, whether it's, Ninja Selling or the Goldfish or whatever kind of thing, when you're filling your head up with all these new ideas and it helps keep you motivated, driven, inspired. So please keep doing that. That's great. And if you have anybody else has any books, I'd love to do that. I just downloaded Pink Goldfish while you were talking, Amy. So thank you very much. I'm going to check it out. Linda?
When we're finished, I just have I guess, a request or anyone who knows. I want to rebrand and I have my colors and all that, but I'm looking like for someone to help me rebrand myself. Just like sort of like she was saying, the pink goldfish is I want to go in a different direction, but I want to rebrand me and help with my marketing, social media, like redo my templates because I feel as if I want to redo my systems and I think things will flow a little quicker. And I don't know if anyone has anyone that is good with that who knows real estate. Because you got people who know technology, but I need someone to help me say, did you think about this in real estate? Did you think about that when you're branding? So I'm really looking for someone who knows real estate and who can take me in that different direction.
Does anybody have a good recommendation for Linda? No one that might be able to help with that? Wordsworth, I know you do some stuff like that. Does anybody have anybody like that?
I mean, I don't know anybody specifically who just does branding and marketing. Excuse me. As far as me, I mean, I can help you with like smart plans and maybe like some content and things like that. But like a whole rebrand, I guess, I don't know.
Doesn't Shantha Weatherman do that?
She may, we also have I'm trying to look up her name right now. She just taught a class in our office, and I'm trying to find her. She was taught in our Conyers office. Nancy, are you there?
Are you talking about Lisa?
Yeah, Lisa. what's Lisa's last name?
Did you ask me?
Ricciardi.
Yeah, Lisa Riccardi may be a good person to help you with that, Linda.
Oh yeah, she does do branding. Yeah.
Yes,
So Nancy, do you have Lisa's contact information?
I do. I'll be happy to, yeah, I can do it. Put it right on the chat right
Yeah,
here.
put it in the chat and send that over to Linda.
Thank
Sure
you.
will.
And Wordsworth, I guess, could I also reach out to you? Because sometimes you think you're looking for something and someone says something, you go, oh, that's what I'm really looking for. So sometimes I like to talk to more than one person because they ask me a question and they make me think, and you're thinking you're going in a different direction. You're like, oh, that's not really the direction you're going in. But like I said, I'm really pivoting this year and really going in a different direction. Thanks for the contact information too, Lisa.
Very good.
And yes, you can absolutely reach out to me.
Okay.
Where's we put your contact info in the chat too, please?
I'm gonna.
Good job.
I put it in the chat so you can just get her email and also her phone number as well.
And thank you so much.
And tell her Nancy gave it to you.
Nancy, what's your last name?
Lockridge. I'm in the branch manager here in Conyers.
Okay.
All right. That was a great question. Linda, like we don't have to just talk about ninjas. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to, any other questions? I mean, you got Neil and I both, like anything we can help you guys with? Does anybody else see anything else going on that you need?
I don't. Hey, good morning, everybody.
Hey, Tavia.
I don't have a question per se, but I just what we're talking about. It's been like finding pain points for to discuss. I mean, I know it's listening, but maybe wanting to get ahead of those pain points. And today, in our climate today, like what are like the top 5 pain points?
Well, I mean, I do know like what do buyers want, what sellers want, for our buyers. They don't want to miss out on a deal. They don't want to pay too much. Those are probably the 2 biggest for our buyers. For our sellers, they want, like their 3 big concerns as a seller they have is help me market my home, help me price my home, help me time the sale out. So timing, marketing, and pricing are your 3 biggies for your sellers.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else have any other questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? Well,
not me.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Well, I hope this was helpful. Like I said, we just kind of mix it up every week. Next week, we're going to be going over the GAR contract change, the mid-year changes that'll be coming out on, I think, July 1st or June 1st. June 1st, they're going to come out. So we got a couple of weeks till that. It doesn't look like massive changes, does it, Neil?
I hadn't looked at them yet.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more. I mean, they changed so much last year. I don't know.
They can always find something to change.
Yeah.
So, but I've seen the initial changes. It doesn't look to be massive, but I thought we'd just have a one next week where we went over the mid-year changes on the GAR contracts. And then we'll have Mark teach the week after, talking about we're kind of doing a case study on event marketing. So that'll be our next few weeks there, guys. So that's all I have. Anybody have anything else? Last chance. Once, twice sold. Thank you guys. Love y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.